So what's the most you've ever paid for a meal? 50 bucks? 100? Maybe a little more on a special occasion? Well, today we're going to talk about the most expensive food order in human history. We're talking about a simple order that's now worth more than most private jets. And the story behind it, it's not just about food. It's about a global rebellion against the entire financial system as we know it. Let's get into it. $600 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the price tag we are talking about. And what did it buy? Not a fleet of supercars, not a mega yacht, but 2 large pizzas. How is that even possible? Well, the answer lies in this really strange new kind of money that was about to change, well, pretty much everything. All right, so here's the story. Back in May of 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Hanyas was hungry. He gets on this internet forum and basically says, hey, I'll trade 10,000 units of this new digital currency called Bitcoin for a couple of pizzas. And someone actually took him up on the offer. At the time, those 10,000 Bitcoin, they were worth maybe 40 bucks. Today, they're worth over 600 million. So the real question is, what on earth happened between then and now? So how do we get from a simple pizza order to a multi-billion-dollar asset? To really get Bitcoin's incredible rise, we have to go back to why it was even created in the first place. See, this wasn't just some tech experiment. This was a post-crash rebellion. I mean, think back to 2008. The global economy was in freefall. Banks were on the verge of total collapse. Governments were printing just unimaginable amounts of money for bailouts, and regular people were losing their homes, their jobs, their life savings. Trust in the entire financial system was completely shattered. And right out of that chaos, this anonymous creator, who we only know as Satoshi Nakamoto, released Bitcoin. It was a brand new system designed from the ground up to work without any banks or government. You know, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The creation of Bitcoin wasn't just about the technology. It was a powerful philosophical statement. It was an act of protest. It was a direct challenge to a financial establishment that millions of people felt had completely failed them. It was designed to be the exact opposite of the old system. And this right here, this is the core of the conflict. On one side, you've got central banks, right? They can print more money whenever they want, which, as you know, can devalue the money in your savings account through inflation. And on the other side, you have Bitcoin with a fixed, unchangeable, totally predictable supply. It's a completely different idea of what money should even be. Okay, so how can you have money without a bank? How can you possibly trust a system where there's no one in charge? It sounds super complicated, I know, but the basic idea is actually beautiful in its simplicity. Forget all the technical jargon you've heard. At its heart, the technology behind Bitcoin, the blockchain, is really just a shared public ledger. The best way to think about it is like a global notebook that exists on thousands and thousands of computers all around the world, all at the same time. Every single transaction is just a new entry in that notebook. So here's how it works in 3 really simple steps. First, when you send some Bitcoin, you basically announce to the whole network, hey, I'm making a new entry for the notebook. Second, that entry is broadcast to every single copy of the notebook around the world so they can all check it and verify it. And finally, once it's verified using cryptography, it gets locked in, and it is there forever, publicly visible and completely impossible to change. That transparency and permanence means no single person or bank or government can secretly go in and mess with the records. Okay, so it's a secure, decentralized notebook. That's cool, but that still doesn't explain why it's worth anything, right? Why would an entry in this digital notebook be valuable? Well, it all comes down to one of the oldest principles in economics, scarcity. This is the magic number, 21 million. The source code of Bitcoin itself dictates that's the absolute maximum number that can ever exist, not 21,000,001, ever. This scarcity is literally hard-coded into the system's DNA. Unlike government money, no one can just wake up one day and decide to create more to pay off debts or fund some project. And this is exactly why people call Bitcoin digital gold. Its supply is totally fixed and scarce, just like a precious metal. And that's in stark contrast to government currencies, which, as we've seen, can be expanded pretty much indefinitely. This quality of being a scarce, reliable store of value is what economists call hard money, and it's a direct challenge to the traditional money printer goes burr model. So wow, we've gone from a $600 million pizza all the way to the core ideas of digital scarcity and financial rebellion. Which, of course, brings us to the one big question that everyone is asking about Bitcoin and the whole crypto world. So what is it? Is Bitcoin this revolutionary new form of hard money that's going to protect people's wealth from inflation and government mistakes? Or is it just one massive speculative bubble, totally plagued by volatility with no real use beyond gambling? Destined to become a historical footnote, just like those two very, very expensive pizzas. The debate is fierce and it is far from over. The story of Bitcoin isn't just about tech. It's a story about trust, it's a story about power, and it's a story about the future of money itself. This battle between the old systems and these new ideas, it's really just getting started. If you want to keep tracking where it all goes, make sure to subscribe.